Hello and welcome to this AfterMaths episode of the Primary Maths Podcast, the show where we talk all things primary maths. I'm Jon Cripwell.
And I'm Becky Brown.
Hello again, Becky. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's been a busy week. Lots of exciting things happening this week for me. But yeah, it's certainly
always a busy week, Becky. It seems to be always a busy week. Every time we have these chats, it's a busy week. Although next week is going to be less busy for you, I understand.
It is, because I'm not at work next week. I'm going to have a lovely week off, Jon. So yeah, next week will be, I can't say it's been a busy week then, can I?
Any exciting plans for next week, or are you just going to be lying in a dark room for a week?
For a week.
You're going where, sorry?
I'm off to the States. My sister lives near Seattle. Yes, I'm off there for a week to celebrate a big birthday of hers and relax. And I'm, for the first time ever, well, in the last 15 years, I'm going without my children.
Do they know yet?
They do know. They're not very happy about it.
They're not happy about it?
No.
I thought kids didn't want to go on holiday with their parents when they got to 15.
Yeah, you'd think, wouldn't you? No, they very much would like to be coming with me, but they
this is your own fault for making previous holidays way too much fun.
Yeah,
clearly.
That's it.
I'm working on solving that problem ahead of time and making our holidays really boring so that the kids don't want to come with me in the future. Make it a lot cheaper then, you see. Or you just do what you're doing and just say, no, that's it. Done now. You've had 15 years of holidays. I'm going without you.
Yeah. Oh, we are going on a holiday. We are going back to America in the summer, so they shouldn't really.
Oh, are you?
But they, I think they are just a bit jealous. But
have you carefully vetted your social media posts and things? Have you made sure that you are going to be allowed into the country and back out again?
Oh, it's a worry, isn't it? I have, try not to think about that really.
Yeah, it's an interesting time to be visiting the US, but
it is.
So maybe your week will be more busy than you thought it was going to be. But that would just be the little icing on the cake, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Going for a nice, relaxing holiday in the US. But genuinely, that sounds lovely. And happy birthday to your sister, Becky. How long's she been over there for?
Oh, I'm getting on for 20 years now. Very long time. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Pretty much native then. Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Amazing. I need more people. I need more family and more friends in more exotic parts of the world.
Yeah.
I need to make it my goal for 2026 to make friends with people in Barbados and Mauritius.
My sister-in-law does lots of outreach work and was once working in the Maldives. Unfortunately, it was at a time when we were very poor students and we never made it over there. But I always think, we should have made that happen. Really, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Someone in the Maldives.
My mum lived in Egypt for about 3 or 4 years, and I never once managed to get over there and see her, which seems balmy. People pay lots of money to go to Egypt on holiday, but not me. So anyway, what are we going to be talking about today, Becky?
Well, Jon, we have been alluding for some time that there's been some work going on in the area of problem solving, and I've got some exciting things to share today. And so hopefully most of our discussion today, now we've talked about holidays and how busy we are, will revolve around problem solving.
Yeah, well, you never know. It's, occasionally we like to go off on a tangent, but it's interesting because I was reading an article yesterday just to highlight the fact that this is not a new area of interest within teaching maths. I was reading an article yesterday from Mike Askew. If you're aware of Mike, I think anybody who's done any sort of teacher training at university or whatever in the last probably 25, 30 years will have come across Mike Askew. So he was writing in Teach Primary. This was the article that I was reading yesterday. And it's not a new article. It is from 2012. So 14 years ago now. And the focus of the article was on routine and non-routine problems. So we've done a couple of podcast episodes in the past on problem solving. episode 48, if you want to go and have a look for that, was with our brilliant guest Steve Lomax and Tom Manners. And we talked all about the fact that problem solving shouldn't just be a task that's given. We've done the rest of the tasks in the lesson. Here's your problem solving task. And then episode 33, Phil Hurd joined me to talk about routine and non-routine problems. And I was sort of looking into that a little bit more. And I found this great, really accessible article by Mike Askew. It's not an academic article. It's written in the Teach Primary magazine. You can, I'll put a link to it into the show notes, but you can Google it really easily if you're listening now. Just search Mike Askew 2012 Teach Primary Problem Solving, and it will come straight up. And he was talking about these two different types of problems, so routine and non-routine problems. And the first example he gave of a routine problem, Becky, was a fairly straightforward one that you would come across almost in any maybe lower key stage 2 lesson on multiplication. And that was, I go to the shop, they sell apples in bags of 8. I buy 6 bags. How many apples do I have?
Yeah, very familiar.
Yeah, very, very familiar. And those tend to come, as I say, when we've just done some work on multiplication. So children are familiar with the idea that we're, probably going to have to multiply. And the thing that kind of makes it a routine problem is that you've got two numbers. We've just done some work on multiplication. If you multiply those two numbers together, you'll get the answer. And, it's very straightforward. There's not a huge amount of mathematical thinking really that needs to go into that. Even if you swap the numbers around, thanks to the power of commutativity, which I can never say, I don't know when to stop saying it. It just goes on. You'll still get to the right answer. He then gave an example of a non-routine problem, and I really liked this one actually. So the example that Mike gave in this article was, let's say Jimmy. Jimmy has a collection of 5p and 6p stamps. You can tell this is an old article, by the way, because I don't think you can get 5 pence and 6 pence stamps anymore. But he needs to make 58 pence in postage. Can he do that using the 5p and 6p stamps? If you find a way, is there more than one way? And again, you could get exactly the same prior learning, but a very different problem or different way into the problem, because you can't just take the 5 and the 6 and multiply them together to get an answer. In this case, we're being given a product and we need to find the factors that are going to make that product up. So yeah, I like that. I don't know what you think about that, Becky. You thinking about the routine and non-routine problems?
Yeah, I love it. I think I've done a lot of research into problem solving and spoken to lots of teachers about problem solving over probably the last couple of years now. And I think our shared understanding of problem solving has become a bit skewed. And I think people often think when you say, what problem solving do you do? And for children as well, they often will think about that first sort of problem. So, yeah, we did lots of
Yeah.
problems at the end of our lesson today.
It's a word problem, isn't it? It's been
Exactly.
given to me in words, therefore it is a word problem.
And I think when you ask whether problem solving happens, that's what people think you're talking about. They think you're asking whether they've been doing some word problems. And problem solving is so much more than that, isn't it? It's almost like, it's mentioned in the beginning of the curriculum, isn't it? You've got fluency, reasoning, and problem solving. But that isn't meant to be a journey from one to the other, with problem solving being the ultimate goal. It should be all of the things happening at once. I think somehow along the way that's got a little bit skewed. And obviously your article going back to 2012, problem solving has been talked about for a long time, but I still don't think we're quite there yet.
No, and it's interesting. It was really interesting reading the curriculum and assessment review, because that sort of built upon prior reports over the last couple of years from Ofsted and other bodies such as the EEF and things that have all sort of indicated that problem solving remains a little bit of a problem area of the curriculum. And whilst we've made great strides, I think, in fluency, which is fantastic, and reasoning to an extent, I think people are much more aware of reasoning mathematically now and mathematical thinking. Problem solving remains an area that is not well taught effectively. And that's not that surprising, because I think we still tend to think of problem solving as a task rather than as a skill or something that can be taught. You know, if you are a good mathematician, if you understand what you've been taught, then you should be able, just naturally, to apply it to these different problems. And we
Yeah.
know that children, humans are problem solving creatures, aren't we? That's what we are good at compared to lots of other animals in the world. You know, we are very good at problem solving. Very young children, you know, a child in reception might not be able to tell you, or probably won't be able to tell you what 8 divided by 4 is. But if you give them 8 pieces of fruit and you ask them to share it out between 4 friends, you know, they will be able to do that. That they can solve that problem even if they don't know the maths that goes with it. So we know that we've got an ability to solve problems, but it seems that the way that we teach sometimes maybe makes that harder to access, or perhaps it's just there's lots of parts to it, isn't there, Becky? To be fair, and as you say, you've been looking into this a huge amount over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and there are a few main things. I talked to a lot of teachers who hadn't necessarily had the best experience of teaching, or not necessarily teaching, but experiencing of problems. So, I mean, this is showing how long I've been teaching. But when I first started teaching, it was very much that we would have that Maths Friday, which was our
Yeah, problem solving, fun
and it,
Friday, fun
yeah,
Friday.
and
Yeah,
it was fun. I mean, to me, this is the best area of maths, and those were really. It wasn't problem solving as the way we've discussed so far as word problems. It was really rich investigations, which you could take off in different directions, and I think one of the biggest problems and why that maybe doesn't well, the two things is I think if you're really secure on what you're doing and you're understanding what's going on, you're more confident to be able to lead those sorts of lessons. And I think a lot of educators have a bit of lack of confidence in the area and experience as well, particularly as we don't do it as much. But also
mm.
the curriculum is so huge, isn't it? I think just having, the thought of having a Friday to come away from looking at those curriculum objectives and focusing on problem solving sounds mad now. I mean, it isn't, because actually they both feed into each other. And the issue is that we're not teaching children how to problem solve. We're doing lots of solving of
Yeah.
problems.
I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. I was talking to Phil Hurd again recently, who, again, go back and listen to his interview, episode 33 of the podcast. And he was actually advocating in his trust for bringing back, maybe not every Friday, but these opportunities to come away from the structured scheme of learning that they're doing and explore some non-routine problems that allow mathematical thinking. And we were talking about this, and I said, I think when we used to do this, because the same as you, Becky, been teaching 20 odd years, and definitely that was part of our routine. It was on a Friday because it was kind of the end of the week, and it was an easy and nice thing to do for me. Maybe not everybody looked at it that way, but I thought, and I would do something like go on Enrich, which is a fantastic source of problems and things. And I would try and find something that was loosely connected to something that we'd done. And I would print it out and put it on the tables and say, crack on. Not always, but too often, probably. There was very little teaching that went with it because I didn't know how to teach those things. Nobody had taught me how to teach problem solving. There wasn't any PD particularly on how do you teach problem solving. Again, as I sort of said earlier, it was kind of if you know the maths, then you should be able to apply it. And this is an opportunity to apply it. So have a go. What I think we did do is build some resilience because, we were throwing children in at the deep end a little bit, but there was no pressure for them to, to necessarily find the right answer. And sometimes we can get, as we've talked about many times, we can get a little bit hung up on trying to find the right answer all the time, can't we? Rather than actually thinking about the process that we need to go through. But I was talking to a group of teachers the other day, and we were saying non-routine problems. This is how a lot of the assessment is weighted at the end of Key Stage 2. Children go into a room. Yes, they'll do the arithmetic paper, which are all routine problems, essentially.
Mhm.
And then they will do the non-routine, often non-routine problems in the reasoning paper, which is more problem solving, I would suggest, than reasoning. Not a huge amount of reasoning in those reasoning papers. And they'll need to be able to switch between different areas of maths and, look at things in different ways and apply the skills of problem solving, which we have not necessarily taught particularly well up to that point. We've just taught them the maths. So how do we teach problem solving? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, and it is a tough one, and I think that resilience is so important. If you're never doing anything, you're not going to build up a little bit of resilience, and you will find that there are children who love that sort of task, which needs a lot of extra work, but some just won't be used to it, and I think that is something that needs to be taught. So I've been looking a little bit at the Singaporean model and how we often look at that as a basis for teaching for maths mastery, and what they do is they look at what they call problem solving heuristics. And that's a sort of a whole range of strategies. I think there's maybe 12, it varies a little bit, but about 12 that they use. And they explicitly teach these strategies, almost building up a toolkit then for children to be able to use when they are approaching a problem. Because I've been a year 6 teacher. It's frustrating, isn't it? You've taught all the maths, you come to the problem solving paper and you think, well, we've taught that. I can't understand why they didn't know where to go. But it's because they haven't got the skill in
Now,
approaching the problem.
hang on. Are we talking a toolkit like the old rucksack toolkits where we read and we
Yeah.
understand and we check? And I can't remember what the rest of it was.
I
But
at all.
that was something for word problems, wasn't it? That I
Yes. And
had a place, but wasn't particularly effective in actually solving the problem, as I believe.
yeah, the toolkit, and we have at Twinkle created a new set of resources which were launched this week and will continue. There's added content added for the next few months as well, so it'll be a while until it's complete. But we've taken very much that focus that we're building a toolkit of skills, and it's very broad on purpose. Rucksack was very regimented, wasn't it? And some problems fitted it and some didn't, and that in itself caused an
It
issue.
was
So
just word problems, really, wasn't it? It was for
yeah,
word problems, really. Try and help
and
you comprehend what it was asking you to do.
word problems are such a tiny part of problem solving. You could have problems asking for combinations. You might have iterative problems where you might need to try an improvement approach. You could have patterns that need to be spotted. You might have to change the process of the problem entirely. There's so many different things that you might do to get into a problem, probably before you've applied the actual maths knowledge. So I think that's what's missing, is that step of that explicit teaching of those skills and strategies and the practice of them, to make sure that children have what they need to be able to apply the maths knowledge they've learned in their curriculum lessons.
But to be able to do that, you need the knowledge yourself as a teacher, don't you? And I think that's the bit that was missing for me when I was first doing these Fun Fridays and the slightly off timetable. Just to say, we know that the curriculum is packed. We know it is absolutely packed. But problem solving is one of the 3 main aims of the curriculum. So we've got to find space in the curriculum for it somewhere, haven't we? In the teaching timetable for it somewhere. And we also know that schemes have inbuilt time. So there are only usually about 85% of lessons actually planned for. And we know that a lot of those are going to be taken up with days for trips, some inset days, maybe going back over and reteaching or splitting a lesson into a couple of parts. But I think it's worthwhile trying to ring fence a little bit of time for problem solving as well. But if I don't know how to teach it, what do I do? How do you approach that?
Yeah, and it is hard because there's a lot of unknown. The whole nature of problem solving is you want children to be curious, you want them to notice, you want them to be able to discuss all those things, and that can be quite terrifying actually if you lack confidence in the area. But it's having an idea of where the discussions might go, how you might support children in going a particular way. And we did a webinar this week. You mentioned it last week. We focused on the power of pattern spotting, which is our first unit in our new problem solving content line. And we were talking about ways that you would encourage that. And it's not just building the toolkit for the children, but it's about building it for the teachers as well, and learning what really good questions to use. That big open question. Also, we've talked a bit about this before, having that growth mindset approach is really important, because actually mistakes in problem solving are really key. If you think about real life problem solving. We talked last week about the moon landings and the work that NASA do. I'm sure they didn't just suddenly arrive at the right answer the first time they tried. So we've tried to, in our new resources, have quite a comprehensive walkthrough of the teaching part of it, just to support those teachers who may be a little bit less confident in doing it. And I think the more you do it, the more confident you become. It's like anything, isn't it? Practice
Yeah. Yeah.
helps a little bit, but having those key ideas, and also, yes, there are. I mean, you would never be able to teach every different type of problem on its own. That's not what this is about, but you can build enough skills that you can apply it to anything you might have in front of you. So I think it's about some consistency across the different types of problems as well. We've sort of approached, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Tom Manners who described George Polyer as the godfather of problem solving, and we certainly have taken some inspiration from his 1945 text, so ways to solve it. So, and weaving that throughout everything means that you start to get familiar with it. Oh, actually, the questions might be different, but the approach is the same each time. And that helps to build confidence as well.
Yeah, it was interesting in the Ofsted subject report a couple of years ago, 2023, I think, that they were actually suggesting that we should be teaching all the different types of problems. And I thought at the time, well, that's the point in about problem solving. There's always a different way to look at it, isn't there? There's always a different sort of problem. There's a brilliant picture that I use in some training. Sometimes I'm saying it's a brilliant picture, not because I came up with it, but it's one that I really like to use. And it's sort of got a cloud, if you can imagine it, a cloud. And within that cloud, it says infinite problems. There are infinite problems within maths. And then beneath the cloud, there's a sort of a building where it says relatively few structures. So we know within the maths that we teach, doesn't always feel like relatively few structures, but we have additive structures, multiplicative structures. We talk about geometry, different areas of maths. But those things we can learn. We can learn those, but we can't possibly learn all the infinite numbers of problems out there. That's impossible. And then there's an arrow that joins the infinite numbers of problems to the structures, and part of that is representation. But I think you could say, skills as well. There are certain skills that allow you to take those infinite problems and apply the correct structure to them. And as you say, the first unit that we've launched is all about how to spot patterns and how to then use that skill of spotting patterns and sequences to be able to solve problems that may involve pattern spotting, or pattern spotting the pattern may just be the way into the problem itself. It may not be the solution, but we know that problem solving is about trying to find a way in. How do I find the right structure that is going to help me to solve the problem? And that's why procedural learning doesn't help in problem solving, really. It really does rely on conceptual understanding, doesn't it? And then having these skills. So we don't do a huge amount of plugging of resources and things on this podcast for the work that we do at Twinkle, but I think it is really worth just spending a couple of minutes, Becky, because as a teacher listening to this, I'd be really interested. What is this new resource then? We've said it's about problem solving. We've said that there are some teacher resources that help with it, but how does it work? If somebody wants to go on and download it, what will they get?
Okay, so there are 6 units, and it's also worth mentioning that it is aligned with our new upcoming updated maths scheme as well. So we have shown how it can fit into the curriculum. There are 6 units each one focusing on sort of a core overarching strategy, if you like. As we said, you can possibly cover every little tiny thing in detail, but we've tried to cover as much as possible. And so our first unit is available now. So what you get with that is you get a little bit of a guide to the strategy itself. And as we've said before, we've done a webinar as well to accompany that too. And then what it essentially is there is a teacher's modeled problem. So there's a problem that is designed to be able to be solved in this particular strategy. We know that problems can be solved in multiple strategies. And eventually, when all the units have been taught and when you can you can start focusing on that strategic choice, which strategy works here. But for the explicit teaching, we're focusing on a problem which needs an element of that. So for this one, it's spotting patterns. There's a problem. It is introduced through animation. We know that reading can sometimes be a real barrier to problem solving. So our problems are introduced through animation. And it's all a sort of a thematic, a safari sort of theme with some familiar characters as well to help with engagement and familiarity. The teacher-led problem basically walks through the 4 steps that we're using, which are understand, plan, solve, and reflect, which is inspired by that work of Polya 4-step framework. And each of those sections is talked through in quite a lot of detail. There is lots, although it's a teacher model, and the idea is that the teacher is showing how they might do it. There's lots of opportunity for discussion. We know the importance of oracy, so there's lots of open questions, times for the children to interject. Ultimately, the teacher leads the children through the solving of the problem. And as I said before, there's a comprehensive walkthrough, holding the teacher's hand if they need it as well. Each of our problems has some extension opportunities. So we call them what ifs. So they're just challenging, more, able to extend where needed as well. And we also provide some suggestions of how you might adapt the problem to suit the needs of your class. When you've done all of that, there is also a pupil practice problem, again, introduced by a lovely animation, which gives the children an opportunity to put that learning into practice. And then, and not available yet, but in a couple of months' time, when we enhance the collection a little bit more, there will be a problem bank as well, which will involve problems that aren't focused necessarily on one strategy. We will suggest what strategies might be good ones to use, but a little bit more open so that they can be picked up as and when they're needed throughout the year and dropped into your curriculum lessons or as homeworks or as fun Fridays, however you want to do it. So that's it. I mean, that is very much in a nutshell, but we do have a product guide available on Twinkle, so that can be searched for and downloaded as well for some more information.
Brilliant. And you said it sits alongside and within Planet Maths, so that if you are using the new updated Planet Maths, which is also coming very, very soon. In fact, our first units on time are available now. But if you can use it within that, but you don't have to use it within Planet Maths, do you? It will stand alone and follow, pretty much sit within any other scheme that we want it to.
Yeah,
And
we've made a conscious effort to where maths knowledge is needed, we've scaled back to previous knowledge. So for the year 5 resources, we're using year 4, or sometimes before, we've talked, haven't we, about how sometimes SATs problems, they're not necessarily year 6 knowledge.
absolutely, yeah.
But we've done that. Some teachers might prefer to teach all the units together when they all are online, or some teachers might spread them out. But the knowledge should have been taught in a previous year group. So you're not spending your problem solving time also teaching maths procedures as well.
So 2 final questions for you then, Becky. One, what year groups is this available for? Is it just Key Stage 2? What are we looking at? If it's not just Key Stage 2, does it matter do they need to go back and do the previous year groups before they do this? And how much time is it going to take to get through the units?
Great questions. So we
Thank you.
cover one. It's lovely to be on I feel like I'm being interviewed
I
today,
know,
Jon.
yeah. This is what it's like. This is how I
Yeah.
grill all of the interviewees.
We have units available from year 1 through to year 6. So we cover every year group and there is no need to track back. So obviously, once you come through to the second year, you have already got a familiarity of the strategy, but we're building we've got a skills progression as well. So it shows how we're building on those skills year on year, and you can absolutely dive in wherever you are. So you can start with the year 4. You've got everything you need there. You don't need to go back. So the second question was, how long will it take? So what we've done is we have got a dedicated 2 lessons per unit. So that's 12 lessons across the whole of the school year. 6 of those would be that teacher-led, the idea isn't that you squeeze it all into one lesson. We're really slowing it down, really pulling apart the strategies and the skills. And as I said, there's some what if questions to make sure that you've got enough to fill the time if you get through a bit quicker. So that one lesson would be for the teacher problem, and then you've got another lesson with another rich investigative type problem for the children to explore for each of those 6 units. That's 12 units across the year.
Awesome. Okay. And then the teacher will be able to use those skills then within other lessons, kind of that callback to, this involves, can we spot a pattern here? Remember, we did that in the problem solving lessons.
Yeah.
But as we say, those lessons do sort of sit apart from the rest of the curriculum. It does involve finding a little bit of time to do those. But problem solving is one of the 3 main aims of the curriculum. So we need to be finding a little bit of time to do that. It's been picked up as part of the curriculum and assessment review that it's a really important area to focus on. So this would be, if you are a maths leader or a teacher in school thinking, we want to improve problem solving, we know how important it is, but we don't know where to start, I think this is one of the few things available to you at the moment that actually doesn't just provide the problems, but also how to teach it. And that's what I'm really excited about. So when I joined Twinkle a year ago, I was really keen on having something that actually taught problem solving. And I was delighted that when I joined to find that Becky was already working on that. So that's how long it takes to develop this sort of resource, by the way, even for a company as large as Twinkle. So a huge amount of work has gone into this to make it fantastic. And we would love your feedback on it as well. So Becky, last thing, where do we find this? How do you access it? What do you need?
Okay, so you are on the Twinkle website, so you will need a Twinkle subscription. You search for maths problem solving and you should find it. And hopefully we can put the link in the show notes as well, John.
But if you've got a Twinkle subscription, this isn't an additional cost, is it? It is within, just
Yeah.
like Planet Maths, within the Twinkle subscription. So no additional cost. If your school's got a subscription, you'll be able to find it. If you've got your own subscription, you'll be able to find it as well. So yeah, that's the other thing that I was really pleased and excited about. We wanted this to be able to reach as many people as possible. So yeah, and if you haven't got a subscription, why not? Because there are just thousands and thousands of resources on there that will just make your life a little bit easier. So that's our plug for problem solving. It's a plug, but actually I'm genuinely really excited to have this out there now and for it to be something that teachers can use to teach the skills of problem solving. And we hope that you will find it really, really useful, because that's what drives us, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It has been, yeah, like you say, it takes a long time to develop these things. The team working on it are fantastic. The resources look great. We have got 1 unit out at the moment. There is another one coming next month and another unit after that. So we are going to continue to create new content in the area as well. But yeah, very exciting. And we would love any feedback, as you say.
Yep, we'll let you know when those drop as well. And also do join us as 200 people signed up for the free CPD on pattern spotting. We'd love to see even more people at the next one, which is going to be what, Becky? We got spoilers for us there? Can you remember what the next unit is going to be?
Next one is focused on working systematically.
Fantastic. Okay, so we know that's a core skill. And yeah, we'll let you know when that webinar is going to be, or you can pop onto the Twinkle Teach Meet page and find it on there. I'm sure you can either sign up for it now, or you will be able to very, very soon. So that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you found the conversation around problem solving useful. I will be back with another interview episode on Tuesday, and then Becky won't be back next week because, as previously discussed, she is now going for a lie down in America. So have a lovely time, Becky. I'll be very hard to replace you, but I'll find it somehow. I will be back next Friday with another AfterMaths episode, and then promise you'll come back the week after that, Becky.
I will. I'll be back. As long as they let me out, I'll be back.
Yes. Well, if not, just ask them for some sort of mobile recording device, and we'll manage it from there.
I'll make it work.
So in the meantime, final plea, please do like and subscribe to the channel and to wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, it would make all the difference to us. We know that thousands of people listen to the podcast, we'd love that to be shared even further, really, because we enjoy doing it and we want to keep doing it. So yeah, leave us a review and share it with colleagues, and we will see you. Well, I will see you next week. Becky will see you in a fortnight.
Thanks for joining us. See you in a couple of weeks.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.